The bell had just rung, and like every day, the school gate became a battlefield of laughter, whispers, and mocking eyes. Students spilled out in groups, their voices sharp as they spotted her. Lena. She was the quiet girl who always kept her head low, clutching her worn-out backpack like a shield. Her shoes were scuffed, her uniform faded from too many washes, and her silence made her an easy target. The bullies had decided long ago that she was their daily entertainment. But today, something unusual happened. She stopped. Just steps before the gate, Lena froze. Everyone noticed. Normally, she would rush past, ignoring the laughter, pretending not to hear the cruel words thrown at her like stones. But not today. The crowd began to gather, expecting another pitiful scene. A few smirked, whispering that she probably tripped or froze out of fear. The head bully, Rohan, the tall boy with a cruel grin who ruled the schoolyard, stepped forward, ready to humiliate her once more. And then, without warning, Lena lifted her gaze. It was the first time in months anyone had seen her look straight into the eyes of the ones who mocked her. Her eyes weren't empty or afraid this time. They carried something else. Something none of them could understand yet. That was the moment everything began to change. Lena hadn't always been this way. There was a time, before her father lost his job, when she was confident, when she laughed freely, when she ran across the schoolyard with pride. But poverty and cruelty had a way of stripping the soul. She had carried her family's burdens silently, watching her mother work nights just to put food on the table, and it had made her fragile, on the outside at least. But today, as the whispers grew louder, and the bullies circled her like hunters around prey, something inside her cracked wide open. Rohan sneered and called her the scared mouse. His friends laughed loudly, thinking it would end like it always did, with Lena lowering her head and running off. But Lena didn't move. She stood still, her fists tight, her chest rising with slow, deep breaths. Everyone watched, confused, waiting. They had no idea that beneath her silence Lena carried a secret. Her late grandfather, a retired soldier, had taught her self-defense from the time she was little. Every summer evening, when other kids played, he showed her discipline, strength, and courage. For years, she never needed it. But today, his voice echoed in her memory. Don't let them break you, Lena. Strength isn't about fighting, it's about standing when they expect you to fall. And for the first time, she decided to stand. The crowd grew restless. Phones were pulled out, eager to capture Lena's humiliation. Rohan, the self-proclaimed king of the school, stepped closer, his voice dripping with arrogance. What's the matter? Tat got your tongue? Or are you too weak to even walk out of the gate? But before he could laugh again, Lena moved. It wasn't frantic or wild. It was calm, controlled, almost graceful. She stepped forward, grabbed Rohan's wrist in a flash, and in one smooth motion, she lifted him off his feet. The gasp that erupted from the crowd was so loud it drowned out every laugh, every whisper, every cruel word. Rohan, the boy who had tormented half the school, was dangling helplessly, his feet barely touching the ground. Silence fell. Every bully froze. Every student who had mocked her stared in disbelief. Lena's eyes were locked on Rohan's, steady and unflinching. She didn't say a word, but she didn't need to. The message was clear. She was not the victim anymore. When she finally let go, Rohan stumbled backward, his face pale, his bravado shattered. No one laughed. No one dared move. For the first time, the bullies had nothing to say. And then, something even more powerful happened. Instead of celebrating or taunting them back, Lena turned and walked away calmly, her steps steady, her head held high. That quiet strength echoed louder than any punch could. Behind her, the students exchanged stunned glances. Some even looked ashamed, because in that single moment Lena had taught them all a lesson. That true strength is silent, disciplined, and unstoppable when it finally rises. Over the weeks that followed, everything began to shift. The bullies who once ruled the school found themselves avoided, even ignored. Teachers began paying closer attention to the quieter students, and Lena, though she never bragged, never spoke of that day, became a symbol of quiet courage. Some even started walking with her, curious about her calm confidence. She didn't seek revenge, and she didn't bask in glory. Instead, she focused on her studies, on rebuilding her spirit, on holding on to the dignity that day had given back to her. And little by little, the laughter that once followed her turned into respect. By the end of the year, even Rohan couldn't look her in the eye. He had been humbled, not just by her strength, but by the way she chose not to humiliate him in return. The school gate became more than just an exit. For Lena, It was the place where she found herself again, the place where silence broke, strength spoke, and the world finally listened. And for everyone who witnessed it, that moment remained unforgettable, the day the quiet girl lifted the head bully and froze them all. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the quiet ones who carry the deepest power, and when they finally rise, the world learns to listen.